Hello everyone, welcome back to lecture series on artificial intelligence, and I hope all of you are doing good. So this lecture is in continuation to our previous lecture of fundamental concepts of artificial intelligence, and today we will try to begin from where we left. But before going into today's topic, let us just have a quick recap of our previous session. So, for those who have already attended our previous lecture, you may know that we have discussed about introduction to artificial intelligence and where we tried to find answer for a simple question, that is, what is artificial intelligence? And then we try to figure out the factors responsible for making there an increasing need for artificial intelligence, why artificial intelligence is grabbing so much of attention towards it. So we have discussed need for AI. Then we have also discussed about AI applications. Using AI, various applications such as in healthcare sectors, in finance, education, and also in space technologies, agriculture, various AI applications we have already discussed. In our previous lecture, we tried to show you a video related to artificial intelligence, and this video is all about what eminent personalities or CEO of big companies and entrepreneurs have to say about artificial intelligence and what they think about artificial intelligence. But unfortunately, due to some technical issues, we were unable to show you this video. But now, good thing is that we can show it to you now. And so go through it and try to comprehend what AI is all about. So go through it.
Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft are all moving ahead at a great speed in improving this artificial intelligence software. So it's very exciting. Software is going to solve that, where it'll look at all the new information and present to you, knowing about your interests, what would be most valuable. So making us more efficient.
We're focusing on what we've talked about on autonomous systems. And we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. So autonomy is something that's incredibly exciting for us. We'll see where it takes us.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if someday we got to the point where there were robots every place, they were running farms, they were running Apple, they were running Berkshire Hathaway, and all you had to do was one person could punch a button at the start of every morning, and all the goods and services that we're getting now would be turned out by robots.
It is seeping into our lives in all sorts of ways that we just don't notice. We're just getting better and better at it, and we're seeing that happen in every aspect of our lives, from medicine to transportation to how electricity is distributed. And it promises to create a vastly more productive and efficient economy. And if properly harnessed, can generate enormous prosperity for people, opportunity for people, can cure diseases that we haven't seen before, can make us safer because it eliminates inherent human error in a lot of work.
Artificial intelligence is going to be extremely helpful, and the risk that it gets super smart, that's way out in the future and probably worth talking about. But now what we're seeing is that for the first time, computers can see as well as humans. That's pretty incredible.
NHTSA did a study on Tesla's autopilot version 1, which is relatively primitive, and found that it was a 45% reduction in highway accidents. And that's despite Autopilot 1 being just version 1. Version 2, I think, will be at least 2 or 3 times better. That's the current version that's running right now. So the rate of improvement is really dramatic. We have to figure out some way to ensure that the advent of digital superintelligence is one which is symbiotic with humanity.
AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. Now, I think of it as something more profound than electricity or fire. And anytime you work with technology, you need to learn to harness the benefits and while minimizing the downsides. Stepping back, when you think about a lot of problems in the world today, it's because we typically have a constraint on resources. AI, for the first time, I think over time, offers a different construct. Things which are constrained and look like a zero-sum game today may not be so in the future. Take education, for example. It's really difficult to educate people in a cost-effective way. AI may fundamentally change that equation. It may make it possible for us to have clean, cheap, renewable energy for the future. So I think a lot of things will play out in more positive ways than people think.
I think probably by end of next year, self-driving will encompass essentially all modes of driving and be at least 100 to 200% safer than a person by the end of next year. We're talking maybe 18 months from now.
The idea that there's going to be a general AI overlord that subjugates us or kills us all, I think is not something to worry about. I think that is overhyped. First of all, we don't know, we're nowhere close to knowing how to build a general AI, something that could set its own objectives. But second of all, I think it's unlikely that such a thing's first instincts would be to exterminate us. So I'm optimistic about that one, and certainly don't think we need to worry about it today.
So after seeing the video, I hope you have got a better idea of artificial intelligence. And let us move forward to our next slide. So in this slide, we are going to know the main objective of our today's session. What are we going to learn from today's session? We are going to discuss about the history of artificial intelligence, and then we will discuss types of artificial intelligence, or you can say stages of artificial intelligence. Then we are going to discuss the evolution of AI, how artificial intelligence has evolved from zero or scratch to the present or the current position of artificial intelligence. Then we will be discussing about artificial intelligence in India, how India is preparing for artificial intelligence and what are their strategies for AI. So let us discuss about the history of artificial intelligence and why it is necessary to discuss history of artificial intelligence. Let me tell you an example. So when first Britishers came to India in 1600 AD, their main motive to come to India was only trade. But later on, when they saw the rich resources and minerals that were present in India, they tried to capture it by controlling the land of India and tried to govern. So when they came to India first, their motive was to trade, but later on it changed to governing or government, governing the Indian land. And as a result, in 1857, they faced first revolt by the Indian soldiers, or it is also known as the first freedom fight, or the revolt that the soldiers, also known as the soldiers' mutiny. So after facing a revolt by soldiers and many Indian leaders joining it, Britishers now took another step and they first established archaeological authority in India. So what was the reason for them to constitute archaeological department in India is that they wanted to know the history of Indians first. Why? So that they can better understand how Indians think, what they like, what all things that matters to Indians so that they can be easily controlled. So similarly, it is necessary or it is required for us that we know history of artificial intelligence. The main reason is that to conquer artificial intelligence, to better understand artificial intelligence. Okay. So that is why that there is one reason that we have to uh, briefly know the history of artificial intelligence. And the second thing is there are many misconceptions, many misunderstandings. Some of you may also think that artificial intelligence is something which is very new and a current or modern technology, but the history of artificial intelligence goes back to the mythological era. Okay. So, according to a Greek mythology, uh, Greek god leader or a leader of Greek gods, Zeus assigned his subordinate Hephaestus to create something that will safeguard the island of Crete. So, Hephaestus was also known as the god of innovation and creation, created Talos, which was, in simple words, was a um, bronze warrior or bronze robot that was created by Hephaestus to safeguard island of Crete. Now coming back from the myths and mythological era to reality, in 1950, Alan Turing made a machine that was able to think like human. Okay, so who was Alan Turing? Alan Turing was the one who made Turing machine. So what was Turing machine? So Turing machine was able to decode that time Soviet Union's message coding machine Enigma. So after that, Alan Turing always uh, always searching for a question he has in his mind that can a machine think, and into this in this he was successful to find out some machine, and he was able to make a machine that was not wholly but in limited condition can think like a human. So now came the era of virtual games, and so in 1951 AI was used in games. So in that time when checkers and chess, similar board games were very popular, so computer scientist named as Christopher Strachey wrote wrote a checkers program so that it can be played with versus computer, and Dietrich Prince wrote one for chess. So in 1951, when after Turing machine or after Alan Turing's uh, machine, AI was then used in games. Okay. So now comes an important year. And in 1955, which is also known as the birth year of artificial intelligence, as John McCarthy, who is also known as the father of artificial intelligence, first coined the term artificial intelligence at Dartmouth Conference. Okay. So there is a Dartmouth University in United States of America, where in 1955 a conference was held for modern day technologies, and in that conference John McCarthy was the one who first coined the term artificial intelligence. Then in 1959, first AI lab was established. With the help of IBM, Massachusetts Institute of Technology established first AI lab, and the research on AI began there. Okay, so while we are using many AI technologies, we should thank MIT's AI lab, because these all things are a result of that lab. Then in 1960, the first robot was inducted to General Motors unit. Okay. So General Motors, which is a car manufacturing company, and a car manufacturing company has assembly line in its unit. So what assembly line is? There are stages in which the parts and components of a car are assembled together. And before 1960, or before a robot was inducted to a car manufacturing company, humans were uh, doing the job to assemble all components, which were not which was not very easy to do, as the components of cars and the parts of cars are really heavy, and it takes hard labor. So as a result, AI was used to create a robot, and it was then inducted to General Motors, which is a car manufacturing company. In 1966, first chatbot Elijah was invented. So some of you may ask that what is Elijah or what is chatbot? So chatbot basically is a question answering machine. Yes. Uh, in text, we try to in question the machine, and in text it responds. And at that time, when there was no internet, Elijah, which was the first chatbot, has been built, and uh, pre-fed questions and answers were fed to it, or trained with, so that only few questions uh, was Elijah was able to answer. Then in 1997, IBM built a deep blue system, which was able to beat world chess champion Garry Kasparov. So that time's world chess champion Garry Kasparov was defeated by IBM's Deep Blue. So AI has helped IBM's Deep Blue, which used AI to beat world chess champion Garry Kasparov. And latest thing to know is that in 2020, Tesla, which is an electric car manufacturing company, rolled out its first self-driven car for public. Okay. And you may have heard about Tesla and its owner Elon Musk, who is working in SpaceX agency, and he is trying to take passengers for space as well. So these all technologies are based on mainly artificial intelligence. So here are those pictures of things which we were just discussing about. And the first picture at the top left, you can see that there is a robot, and this is the same robot which was inducted by General Motors. Its name was Unimate, and it was inducted to General Motors manufacturing company units assembly line. And the next picture is of Elijah the chatbot, where we can see that a person is interacting with the chatbot, and you can, if you can see there, you can see some texts which are basically question and answer, which is going between the person and Elijah. So, as I have already said that at that time the chatbots were not connected to internet as now, as we have Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant, where we ask many things to them. But in that time when Elijah was created, it had only few question answers which were already fitted or feeded into it, and it will only answer few things of a few questions which were generally which it has already been trained with. So now we are using a much more updated versions of chatbots, and you can see in left bottom of your screen that a person who is playing chess match. So there is Gary Kasparov playing chess match which with the deep blue, not with the person who is sitting in deep blue side. The person is just a mediator between the computer which has deep blue programmed and Gary Kasparov. So the वो जो व्यक्ति है वो बस गैरी कैस्परोव के जो भी चाल हैं, जो भी मूव्स हैं, उन्हें बस नोट डाउन करके उन्हें कंप्यूटर में फीड कर रहा है. So that's how Gary Kasparov was defeated, who was that time world chess champion, and he was defeated by IBM's Deep Blue. The next picture is of a self-driven car which is rolled out by Tesla recently in year 2020, and you can see that a person is sitting in the driver's seat, but um, he is not handling the car, or he is not driving the car, but the car is driving on its own. So this is how the history of artificial intelligence has been, from mere mythological era or myth to a thing which is in reality, which we are using in reality. Next thing we have to discuss is types of artificial intelligence. And in types of artificial intelligence, we are mainly going to discuss about the stages of AI. So how these types of AI has been categorized is on the basis of use of artificial intelligence. Okay. Suppose we are making a machine and we are using weak artificial intelligence. To say weak artificial, it means that we are making that machine to perform a single or simpler task. Okay, suppose we are making a machine to lift something and drop it. That that will In that we will be using a simple or weak artificial intelligence. So that's how we are classifying artificial intelligence on the basis of use of AI. So the first category is, or the first type is narrow artificial intelligence, where we use weak AI. So applying AI only to perform specific tasks. if we are making a machine to perform only single tasks or specific tasks, then this all type of AI application comes under narrow artificial intelligence. Narrow means we are making them to perform a single task. So, for example, Alexa, Google search engine, or you can say Google predictive search engine, self-driven car, Sophia the humanoid, all come under narrow AI. How? Let us see an example. What does Alexa do? Whenever we ask or instruct Alexa through our voice, we instruct it to play music, whether to say about weather forecasting or or any other thing. We try to instruct it through our voice. So what does Alexa do then? It interprets or it tries to figure out what we are asking. So it requires speech recognition. So the only task it does is it recognizes a speech or instruction and try to respond to it using internet. Yes, of course, using internet, but it only performs single task, that is to recognize our speech and try to respond to it. So that is why when it is um, performing a single task or a specific task, it comes under narrow artificial intelligence stage. Okay, and similarly, self-driven car, which only recognizes the objects in front of it and tries to or make a decision to go or not, to stop, to accelerate. This all comes under a single task, that is to identify the object in front of it. So, so that's how it also comes under narrow artificial intelligence because it is using a weak AI. Then there is Sophia the humanoid. Although it has features of showing various emotions and similar to humans, and it can talk, it can listen, but then also it cannot perform a variety of tasks that we do. Okay, so that is why uh, we can say that we are standing at present, or the AI has evolved um, to this stage only. ओके, एआई अभी तक इस स्टेज से बाहर नहीं निकल पाया। एआई अभी भी नैरो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस वाले स्टेज पे ही है। वी हैव नॉट अपडेटेड और वी हैव नॉट इवॉल्व्ड एआई टू a greater stage. The next stage is general artificial intelligence, where we use strong AI. जैसे हम पिछले स्टेज में वीक एआई यूज कर रहे थे और मशीन को वो सारे टास्क परफॉर्म करने कह रहे थे जो जनरली एक सिंगल टास्क होता है या स्पेसिफिक टास्क होता है, लेकिन जनरल आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस में it involves machines that possess the ability to perform any intellectual task that a human being can. कोई भी टास्क जो एक ह्यूमन बीइंग कर सकता है, अगर हम उसे एक मशीन से करवा ले, तब वो इस स्टेज में आएगा जो कि है जनरल एआई, जिसमें हम अभी तक नहीं पहुंच पाए। हम बेशक ऐसा कर रहे हैं that we are connecting different AI applications or different task performing AI application or systems together to make it broader AI systems, but we have not been able to make an AI model which can perform every single task done by a human being. ओके, अभी मैंने जैसे कि आपको एक ब्रॉडर एआई सिस्टम के बारे में बताया, उसके लिए एक एग्जांपल है। सो बिल गेट्स, you all may know him. Bill Gates, the founder and CEO of Microsoft, has a house, and it has many interesting gadgets to optimize energy consumption and enhance visitor experience. Small example is that when a guest arrives, जब कोई गेस्ट इनके घर पे आता है, दे आर गिवन अ पिन, एक पिन दिया जाता है जिसे वो अपने क्लोथ में कहीं भी लगा सकते हैं, अपने कपड़े पे कहीं भी लगा सकते हैं, एंड a simple gadget that can be held or put on their clothes that interacts with all different sensors, जो बाकी घर में लगे हुए और दूसरे सेंसर्स के साथ इंटरेक्ट कर सकता है. The guest can enter his liking of temperature and lighting preferences to it, and whenever he moves from one single room to another room, the light and the temperature of that room changes itself according to the liking of that person or the guest. And even the artworks of the walls, the artworks which are hanging on the walls of house of Bill Gates are provided with touch sensor. They can be changed uh, at any time. So imagine this all sensors and AI systems are brought together and connected together. This makes a broad AI system. But we cannot say that this broad AI system comes under general AI. Okay, हम उस चीज से उस एक ब्रॉड सिस्टम से कई सारे टास्क जरूर करा रहे हैं, but we cannot say that it can perform every single task that a human can perform. हम देख सकते हैं, हम सुन सकते हैं, हम बोल सकते हैं, हम उठ के बैठ सकते हैं, we can walk, we can lift anything. So we need we are capable of doing any type of physical as well as uh, sensory type of duties or things. But to make a machine to do it is at present is not possible. It can be possible in future, but at present we can say that we are at narrow artificial intelligence stage. Then the third stage is super artificial intelligence stage, which is also can be also called as hypothetical theory. Hypothetical means imaginary. ये सिर्फ एक imagination है. एक ऐसा वक्त आएगा when the capacity and ability of computers or machines will surpass humans. जब मशीन का जो कैपेबिलिटी है और एबिलिटी है वो ह्यूमंस को सरपास कर जाएगा. तो ये सिर्फ एक हाइपोथेटिकल थ्योरी है, हम इसे बस अभी इमेजिन कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हम तो अभी सिर्फ फर्स्ट स्टेज में ही हैं, नैरो एआई में. अभी हमें सेकंड स्टेज तक जाना है और इन फ्यूचर we are sure that we will possibly make it to the super AI. So let us discuss about the evolution of artificial intelligence. In our previous slides, we have seen that how artificial intelligence from mythological era has grown into something that is we can see or we can use uh, in our reality in modern days. So as you can see in this slide, it is clear that at present, artificial intelligence which we are using is in narrow intelligence state, which has less intelligence than human intelligence, or we are making machines which can only perform specific tasks, not all tasks which a human can or a human intelligence can. Okay, and in future around 2040, according to scientists, we will able to reach a point where the artificial intelligence embedded machine will be equal to that of a human intelligence, or we can say that an artificial embedded machine can perform tasks which all tasks which a human can perform at that time or at that stage. And again, in 20 years more forward to that, there comes artificial superintelligence, where the intelligence of machines will be far more greater than human intelligence. So this is all about evolution of artificial intelligence from scratch to from where we are standing, and there is a possibility that we will grow towards artificial super intelligence. Next thing is, which we are going to talk about or discuss about is AI in India. So AI in India, अब ये हम इंडियंस होते हुए ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है कि एआई के लिए हमारे देश में क्या हो रहा है. So artificial intelligence in India. So in 2018, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the evolution of technology has to be rooted in the ethics of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Okay, according to their manifesto and their parties or their governments' ethics, they say that Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas, जहाँ पे वो कहना चाहते हैं कि इवोल्यूशन ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है और we need or we Indians need to make AI in India and it should work for India. According to PM, that we have to make AI in India and it should work for India. उन्होंने एक इक्वेशन भी दिया है IT plus IT equal to IT, where the first IT is for India's talent and plus the second IT is for information technology. So when in India's talent and information technology combines, it will give result as India tomorrow or the future of India. So we can say that AI sits at the heart of this national technology strategy. Okay, so research and um, strategy on AI has already began in India, and also Niti Aayog recently set up a AI for all hashtag and came up with a discussion on national AI strategy. So, in a country as diverse as ours, with limited infrastructure capabilities and जनरली यहाँ पे लोग जो है कि कई सुदूर इलाकों पे रहते हैं and they are only dependent on agriculture. So to make such technologies which can help uh, for betterment of the last standing person in the line. Okay, अगर एक आखिरी में खड़े व्यक्ति के पास जो फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रांग फाइनेंशियली वीक है एंड जिसके पास सारी सुविधाएं नहीं है, if we are using AI to provide him better life, then that will automatically boost the economy of India. इसी वजह से आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के ऊपर काम इंडिया में होना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. सपोज इमेजिन अगर एआई टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया में अच्छे से रिसर्च होता है और इसके ऊपर काम होता है and we all contribute towards AI in India, then there are many things that can be seen. For example, imagine if AI could be used in voting, we would have 100% of voting. Now, at many states and many constituencies which are facing problems where people don't come to vote for many reasons, that can be the That can be the distance between their house and the voting area or any other thing. If they are able to vote from their house itself, it will automatically make the percentage of voting bit higher than what we are dealing with now. Okay, so आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का इम्पोर्टेंस बहुत ज़्यादा है, ना केवल पूरे वर्ल्ड में लेकिन इंडिया के लिए भी. एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी आर फॉर्चुनेट दैट we are getting to know about artificial intelligence. And I think आज के लिए इतना काफ़ी होगा. And we will try to get to know more about artificial intelligence in our future sessions and future lectures. So, thank you everyone for watching it patiently and being with me.